I try to be in any role as good a teammate as I can be, and try to be someone who people can talk to, my teammates can talk to. I think, luckily or unluckily, I've been in so many different roles in college too, so I learned what it's like to be the backup, and you're not as vocal in front of the unit, but I might pull guys aside and have individual conversations about what Gino's thinking, and I'm really trying to be an extension of Chip, of Gino, of everything that's being communicated from players to coaches, coaches to players, and try to find my role that way. And at the end of all that, still trying to compete to push Gino to be the best that I can be for myself. It's only going to make everybody better if I'm a better player.
That was Aidan O'Connell speaking today on Tuesday from Raiders training camp. We're winding down Raiders training camp. You just heard from Aidan O'Connell talking about his role on this team as the backup quarterback to Geno Smith. How long that remains the case is what we're going to talk about here today, Adam, probably through the rest of the season, but you never know, and we're going to get into that in just 1 second. I want to welcome everybody to Vegas Nation First and 10, your go-to for Raider news and analysis. Want to remind everybody that all of Vegas Nation podcasts are brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. We appreciate that. My name is Vinny Bonsignore. I cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. To my right is my great colleague and friend, Adam Hill. He also covers the Raiders and everything else for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. And just a shout-out to all of our listeners and all of our readers and all of our subscribers. Remember, you could always hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel, Vegas Nation. Spread the word around about Vegas Nation and the merits of a Vegas Nation subscription. We're going to have some great details coming up in the coming shows about some deals that we're putting out there to Raider fans for Vegas Nation subscriptions. So be on alert for that. But back to the show, Adam Hill, and we're talking about the backup quarterback. And right now, I don't think there's any question if the season were to start today, it would be Aidan O'Connell. And I would be somewhat surprised if he didn't hang on to that for the full season. But here's the thing. Pete Carroll always talks about competition, and Cam Miller has been playing reasonably well in practice, has taken that into some games. I know it ended badly for the Raiders and for Cam, the rookie from North Dakota State, on Saturday against the San Francisco 49ers, but there was also some good moments there. Meanwhile, Aidan O'Connell has played not so good in the preseason, and so I would throw this out to you. Are you of the belief that Aidan O'Connell has this job not just wrapped up, but he's got a firm grip on it and will continue to be the backup through the course of the season?
I guess yes, with an asterisk.
Okay,
I
fair enough.
think is fair enough. Yeah, I think he is. And to the point about Aidan, I thought early in camp he was really, really good. Mm-hmm. And, obviously the preseason games haven't gone great, and I thought that's been reflected in some practices lately too. I thought that the play kind of fell off a little bit with Aidan O'Connell in practice. So whether that's just that point of camp or whatever's going on with him right now hasn't been his sharpest. And clearly what the fans see is what happens in the games, and what's happened in the games hasn't been great. But of course the way that Cam Miller into the game wasn't great either. So I know that there's some people a little bit freaked out about the backup quarterback situation. I think the bottom line is most teams are in a really bad spot if you have to go to the backup quarterback. So the Raiders aren't necessarily unique in that situation. But look, Aidan O'Connell is a guy with a ton of experience for a young backup quarterback, no question about it. Some's been good, some's been not so good, but he's got a lot of experience. He also doesn't make a whole lot of money.
True.
In terms of being in having a backup quarterback on that kind of a contract, that's a luxury that a lot of teams don't have. Experienced guy that doesn't make a whole lot of money. That's a good thing to have. Obviously, Cam Miller on a rookie deal as well as a late round draft pick. So the Raiders have a lot of flexibility in terms of spending that they don't have to do at the backup quarterback position. But when I say with an asterisk, I think Aidan O'Connell will have the backup quarterback job week 1.
Yes,
and most likely throughout the rest of the season.
Correct.
If Geno Smith was to go down long term, if they're 2-4, 2-5, I wouldn't go to Aidan O'Connell. I'd go to Cam Miller. There's no reason to go to Aidan O'Connell. You know what you have. But my asterisk would be,
okay. You're saying
you're out of it.
Hurt.
If
you're out of it, yes.
You're out of it. He's hurt. You're 2-5. Why go to Aidan O'Connell?
Yeah,
wouldn't make much sense to me.
I guess in any situation, let's just say they are 5-2. All right. I guess you go to Aidan and see how it goes.
Well, you go to the trade market.
Well, okay.
You ask Atlanta what Kirk Cousins costs.
How much is his contract?
It's fine.
Let me ask you this,
They're the
though.
one team that could probably do it.
No doubt. They've got the money. They've got the cap space to be able to do that. So I guess the situation would have to would kind of dictate how you're going to handle that. But if we're talking about trades, and we're talking about the quarterback room, let me throw this at you.
Well, it was my other asterisk. Maybe you're going to get to it. My other asterisk that I was going to get to was if next week somebody comes to them and was to make a crazy offer for Aidan O'Connell, would I consider it? Probably, but I don't think you're going to get a crazy offer.
Okay.
I don't think a team's going to say like a third-round pick
No.
or a second-round pick for Aidan O'Connell. So if that were to happen, then I think the Raiders would probably be listening to that.
Well,
But I just don't see that happening.
Somebody from the NFL said, in terms of Aidan O'Connell, it's probably never going to be good enough. And he was speaking as a starting quarterback in the NFL over a 17-game schedule. And maybe if the Raiders are lucky, they could get a 6th or 7th. If somebody even offered a 6th or 7th right now, are you listening?
No,
Okay.
I think he's too valuable as a guy, like I said, with the experience that he has and with the low salary that he makes. I think he's a pretty valuable piece to have in place. And the other reason I think that is because Aidan O'Connell, and you heard him talking about understanding the role, like he's a guy that's been a backup and a starter in high school, a backup and a starter in college, a backup and a starter in the NFL. He's gone from one week to the next as a backup and a starter, and he's kind of consistent in his ability to, when he's a starter, he's the starter, and he's more vocal. When he's the backup, he's the biggest cheerleader. He's the most supportive. Works just as hard as a starting quarterback does. He understands that role, and that's a challenge for a lot of players. Like, yes, he wants to be a starter, as we heard, as anybody does, but he understands how to go back and forth from one role to the next much more than I think a lot of players do. I think he understands that, that lot in life, and I think he's very good at it. And that's the part that I would say you want to have that guy around, especially if his contract's over and you're like, hey, you got to pay him $8-9 million this year to be a backup quarterback. It's not going to happen. But where he is right now, like where his salary is and what he brings to your team, I just think it's too valuable to just say we're going to take a 7th-round pick for him.
Devil's advocate, wouldn't that also be predicated on how this organization views Cam Miller and
Sure.
Where he is right now, and B, I don't know. I know he plays that role. We'll just keep it right there.
Here's the thing: if you were to trade Aidan O'Connell for, say, a 7th-round pick, or even cut him, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But if you're going to trade him for a 7th-round pick, let's just say you do that, you have to bring in another quarterback. You're not just going to go into the season with Geno Smith and Cam Miller.
Yeah.
So now you have to go find somebody. Are you going to pay somebody else? Are you going to bring Carter Bradley back?
I wouldn't. Yeah, no.
What are you going to do?
Well, number one, I definitely wouldn't do that. This is something that, maybe who's trading for a backup quarterback right now? I guess there are teams that might be interested in that, and they would have to monitor that. And again, a lot of it is on, do they think Cam Miller could be the backup quarterback right now? If they feel,
I don't think they do.
I can't see how they. I can't see how they would.
No.
But we're not upstairs in that office.
Sure.
We're not looking at everything. Let me just throw one more. We'll get back into the merits of Aidan and Cam in just one second. But let me ask you this: would you? I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be. But would you have any interest in picking up the phone and calling the Indianapolis Colts and saying, What would it take to bring Anthony Richardson?
Yes, I've made that phone call already. I would hope they already did make that phone call. I would hope.
And you just come in here, you bring him in here, and you let him sit and learn behind Geno Smith.
Yeah, I'd hope 31 teams have made that phone call already. I don't think the Colts are going to do that. I don't think they'd make that deal. But yeah, I think
what would you think that it would?
It'd be a lot.
A lot?
It'd be a lot.
There's no way it would be a lot.
It'd be a lot. You're not getting him for like a 6th-round pick.
No, but what about a 4th?
There's no chance they're saying yes to that.
Well,
there's no chance.
Yeah. Listen, yeah.
I was like 2 seconds probably would be like
something
crazy.
Nobody's gonna. There's no way that they have any expectation.
They have a lot invested in him in Indianapolis. I'm not saying a team should give up 2 seconds.
No,
I'm saying what would they want for him as somebody that they invested.
You think it ever works out for Anthony Richardson with the Colts?
I don't know if it does with the Colts. I think it works. He's unbelievably talented, and I'm a believer in talent. So I mean, could it at some point? Yeah, I mean, when he's been healthy, he's been really good. And a lot of the time that he's been on the field, if people are like, but when he's had a chance, he hasn't. Well, that's mostly been injury related. Also, like he hasn't actually been healthy, and will he ever be? That's a question that you have.
Do you
to
think
ask
the Colts?
yourself
What do you
first
think the
and
Colts think of that? When if you were Shane Steichen right now, what do you think his? Well, if you're Chris Ballard, what do you think his answer is right now to that
Will he
question?
stay healthy?
No. Will he ever turn into anything?
I think they believe he will. I do.
I'm a little dubious on that. I would not be surprised if they are. Look, let's just cut our losses. It's not the end of the world. You are a firm believer, as am I. You keep trying at quarterback. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not.
Yes.
It didn't kill the organization. They have a pretty good roster there.
If Anthony Richardson could be had for a 4th-round pick, and we found out that the Raiders didn't do it,
I'm going to make some calls tonight.
I would be.
I'm going to make some calls.
I would be. If I was a Raiders fan, I would be infuriated.
Right. I'm gonna make some calls and see what that market might look like. Like realistically, I'm gonna talk to some people that would know about that, because I would be with you. Why not? Just bring him in here. He's with
Yes.
no expectation to be the starter. And heck, I would keep Aidan O'Connell on the roster even at that point and just let him develop through the course of the season, see what you might have down the road. Because how old is he?
Like 23.
Yeah, he's still a young kid. But also, what's crazy about that, you would be taking on the contract, so that just by the time you think that, well, maybe I still don't know what we would have in him, now you're looking at his 5th-year option too. So there's some complications to that, which is why I don't think that it would actually be a whole lot that the Colts could expect to get from him. And they're going to have to make a decision.
I think it's both sides. I don't think the Colts could expect to get much for him because of that, and I don't think that that they'd give. I think the cost would be to a point where they would say, like, no, it would take way more than that to get him.
They're going to be in a situation heading into like next year, still under the rookie deal, not the 5th-year option.
Yeah, next year's 4.
But they're basically going to lose him for nothing.
But they're going to have to make it. Well, I don't think they're going to pick up the 5th-year option.
They're not. That's what I'm
year.
saying. So which means he's going to be a free agent after
2 more years.
After after next year. Because
this year and next year.
Yeah,
that's 2 more years.
exactly. All right, so you never know. You never know what might happen and what John Spytek might have up his sleeve. Do I think that Tom Brady likes the thought of Anthony Richardson as a prospect? I don't think so. I would just say no, probably not. But you never know
I'd like
what
to see Anthony Richardson in a Chip Kelly offense.
that would be. That's somebody else brought that up to me. We're kind of all over the place here, but somebody else in the NFL brought up to me Tom Brady and Chip Kelly, because Chip Kelly can be pretty stubborn himself.
Yeah.
And do they see the game the same way, and especially when it comes to the quarterback position? Yeah. So something to think about. All right, getting back to Aidan O'Connell and Cam Miller. Cam talked about, this is where it's interesting because, as Adam alluded to, not only does Aidan O'Connell understand the role, he's played this role many times before, being disappointed not being the starter, having to not play, et cetera, but the highs and lows and the this and the that, good games, bad games, and you look at Cam Miller, he couldn't afford to have bad games in college. Yeah. Like, they were a winning football team. I know it's a different level than Purdue, we get that, but every game was like a playoff game for him. Every game he had to deliver, basically, and so he didn't experience all those ups and downs and highs and lows. I don't know if that's a bad thing necessarily. Like if I'm the Raiders, I want somebody more wired that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the the winning mentality, the winning attitude. I mean, I think there is something about learning how to lose. I mean, players have. We've heard it before. I think was it even Brock Bowers last year? Something like they lost a game and he was so dejected and so down. And people are like, you lose a lot in the NFL. Like, I know you didn't lose ever in college, but
right.
You do lose a lot in the NFL. Like, it's something you have to get used to. I think
not 11 straight.
To your point, I think it depends on like how you're able to process it, how you're able to handle it. Like, you do have to, like, you want the guy that from the winning culture, the winning mentality, the guy that understands how to win in the end, to make those plays. You want that, but you also don't want a guy that comes in and he's always won, he's always come through, he's always always been successful, and then they lose and he just loses it.
Yes,
like he can't handle the loss. Like, you do want to make sure that the guys have that. Like, you don't want them to accept losing or like hey, it's cool, we lost, whatever. But
Which happens.
You do have to handle them the right way.
Yeah, and Cam. In fact, let's hear from Cam talking about his process of not getting the job done against the San Francisco 49ers at the end of Saturday's game, and ultimately taking 2 sacks and throwing an interception, and kind of how he processed that to the point where he kind of had to go talk to his parents a little bit after the game about it. Here's Cam Miller.
I had told my dad, I'm like, I'm not used to feeling this because the last 2 years that I played in college, I was put in those situations in the fourth quarter, and I felt like I delivered almost every single time. And then to be on the other side of that outcome didn't feel very good, and it honestly motivated me a lot that there is a lot of self-improvement that I need to do. And I think for me, there's 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at it as, oh, poor me, I made a mistake, they might cut me, blah, blah, blah. Or you could look at it as, this is an opportunity for me to get better. There's a lot of things that I can continue to work on. And for me, that's exciting that there's a lot of growth still out there for me.
That's Cam Miller, the Raiders rookie quarterback from North Dakota State, talking about his process of what happened on Saturday night against the 49ers. It did not end well, obviously, as we mentioned. And I would hope that was a learning experience for him. Like you're going to have moments like this in the NFL. It's just there's nobody that doesn't, and probably where there's going to be a bunch of them probably. You don't want to ever accept it, as Adam said beforehand. You don't want to accept losing, but you also have to understand how to process it in a healthy way.
Yeah, and to have it fuel you to make sure that doesn't happen again, or that you don't make the same mistake twice, that sort of thing, and or that you go into a shell where you're like, this sucks, I hate everything, I've never lost before, I don't know how to handle it, and then you just aren't ready to play another game. Like
right.
That can happen too. Like, so yeah, you want somebody that knows how to win, understands how to win, knows how to make winning plays, doesn't buckle under pressure, but also when they lose can use that and channel it in a positive direction.
All right, so Saturday, both Aidan O'Connell and Cam Miller spoke to the media today. Pretty much a sure sign that both are going to get extensive time on Saturday in the preseason finale against the Arizona Cardinals. This is going to be the last thing. The Raiders hope that this is the last time they see either quarterback in a meaningful snap this year. Let's be honest. That would have meant that Geno Smith stayed healthy and he played at a high level, and they didn't have any need to go to their backup quarterback. Realistically, I don't know how realistic that is. It's a very physical sport. Things happen. All right, so there could be a time at some point this season where they're going to have to go to their backup quarterback. Now, here's my question to you, Adam. Pete Carroll always talks about competition, and that is from wherever to wherever on his roster. Every position is open for the taking at any given time. I'm not so sure that Pete's not going to be monitoring that backup all year long. I know it's going to be hard because the reps are going to be limited, but Cam Miller is going to be over there on the scout team, as will Aidan O'Connell at times. What do you have any expectations of it happening where Cam Miller could actually overtake Aidan O'Connell as the backup quarterback, and how would they even go about making that consideration when they're not going to actually have games to go on?
And they're barely going to have Cam Miller doesn't really take that many reps at practice.
Right.
we don't really see him getting a whole lot of practice reps. So
although in a game week he might be getting some scout team looks.
Sure. Yeah, I think it'll be different from that perspective for sure. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's something they're going to monitor, and they'll keep an eye on them. Now, I think every position is up for grabs all the time is not true.
Well, because there's sometimes where you as a coach understand Max is better than whoever his backup is. I mean, that's just like Kobe Bryant was better than whoever his backup was.
If Geno has 3 terrible weeks of practice in a row and Aidan O'Connell has 3 amazing weeks, Aidan O'Connell's not starting the next week. It's not going to happen. It's I think they want to foster that idea and foster that notion that anybody can lose their job or be replaced at any time. But
Brock Bowers ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
no matter how poor, if he drops 100 passes in a row,
let's not get silly.
Right. He's probably still starting though. I think that's going to happen. But I think that on certain positions, I think that's a perfect place to do it. Right, where you're not going to have a battle for the starting quarterback, but you are potentially going to be able to foster competition in that room by having that constant evaluation between the second and third. I think Aidan O'Connell is probably going to be the guy. Like I said, I think that where it would change is if the season is still relevant, which, the second half of the season really for the last few years has not really been that relevant around here. But if the season is still relevant and they have to go to a quarterback, I think they go to Aidan O'Connell. If it's a more long-term thing and the season's not relevant anymore, I think that's where you would maybe look and say, well, probably Cam Miller is the guy, not Aidan O'Connell. Aidan O'Connell would remain potentially as a backup. I think that's kind of how that would play out potentially. But could he pass him? Sure. I think it's possible that he could.
Next question. Do the Raiders even need 3 quarterbacks on their active roster?
No, but I do think, I don't think that they want to envision a scenario where they go into a game thinking Cam Miller could take snaps. I don't think they're at
No, I'm not talking about
cutting Cam Miller.
Yeah, and bringing him back to the practice squad.
Well, sure. I mean, if you're certain that nobody's going to take a shot on him, I mean that could potentially be possible. It's something to, or I think would somebody take a shot on Aidan if you try to sneak?
No, I think you try to.
I think you try to sneak Cam Miller through. I don't think they do it. I think that they've taken a little bit of time to, develop him and be in there. I think it would be maybe a little bit too much of a risk to do that.
So you think that there's a possibility that there's one of 31 teams out there could put away, or maybe multiple teams, whatever.
There's at least a possibility. I don't think you want to start. I know that you have to make some of those calculations. I want this guy in the practice squad. We'll try to sneak him through. I know you have to try to put some guys on waivers that you do really, really hope you get back. You have to make some of those mathematical kind of processes, but I don't know if you play around with a quarterback.
All right. Okay.
If they think he has any possibility of developing at any point, I don't think he can do it.
Do you think he does? Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, that's your reaction.
Again, we don't see him at practice that much. He doesn't take that many reps at practice.
Right.
He doesn't. So I think we've seen tremendous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty clear. So from that perspective, I mean, look, his first couple of practices, I think everybody's looking around like, what?
Well, yeah, and
what?
Yeah, which is not unusual for
but I mean,
a rookie of his stature.
What I'm saying is now he's at a point you're like, okay,
yeah,
he's picking up the offense. He's understanding what they want to do. He's shown a lot of improvement. If he kept on that kind of trajectory, yeah, you never know.
Right. It's interesting. Is there a position on this roster where you feel like by keeping 3 quarterbacks, we're really leaving ourselves vulnerable at offensive, whatever, wide receiver? Is there a player on this roster, on the back end of the roster, that you'd be like, man, if it came down to this position and that player against a third quarterback, I'd rather lose even the possibility of losing that third quarterback than lose this guy?
So I would say that the depth at linebacker isn't great. And if I were to have to sacrifice, say, the last linebacker for an extra quarterback, I'd be all right with it.
And okay, because I do have them with 3 quarterbacks. I have them in my latest 53-man roster projection, which is up at VegasNation.com, and I have them with 6 linebackers. I took in this exercise, because I kept a 6th wide receiver, Alex Bachman. I took out 1 defensive lineman. So I went down. I had 10 the last time. Now I went down to 9 defensive linemen. So I don't know. It's kind of it's a mathematical question. And I guess the key question would be, if you believe you can get, because Cam Miller on your practice squad is just as, he's not going to be losing any practice time. You could bring him up as as maybe the emergency quarterback from time to time. Like you could have him in the building just as you would as your third quarterback right now, get the same exact amount of development time, but also have a roster spot for somebody else.
Yeah. The only risk you run is if somebody picks him up, which again, I would think you have a better chance than not of nobody picking him up and getting him on the practice squad. I do think that. I think you have that chance. What you don't want is that remote possibility.
Yeah.
That you feel like he's a good developmental piece. You think he could turn into something, and all of a sudden he's gone. Which, look, in the end, if you lose him, is the end of the world? No, but like we talked about earlier, my philosophy, especially when you have an older quarterback like Geno Smith that is your number one, like even if you didn't, I would be taking shots at quarterback every single year. Now all of a sudden, even if I'm talking about even the really good teams in the league with really good quarterbacks.
For sure.
I'd always
You
be
might
trying
end
to
up with a
look-
Mark Purdy.
I'd-
with a Brock Purdy.
I'd always be looking at that next guy, and so that would be one year where you're like, hey, we drafted this guy, worked with him all off season. Now we don't have him. Now we got to next year take another shot at another quarterback and just kind of start over that process, which I would do it anyway, even if I do have him around.
Right.
But I just feel like, you just keep taking shots at trying to develop guys and see what you've got.
Yeah, interesting, situation. And talking to Aidan O'Connell today, he was disappointed, obviously, with his performance 2 weeks ago against the Seattle Seahawks, and it felt like he felt worse about that game.
Yeah, I talked to him in Seattle in the locker room.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And he was definitely down.
Yeah, because it's just not. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's not like him because he's had some bad games before. So, and I like Adam, I feel like Aidan is going to be the backup quarterback here for the duration of the season. But trust me, I hear fans talking about it all the time. And I know that there's that infatuation with the new guy, and I'm with Adam as well. I think Cam Miller has. I was talking to somebody in the organization. It feels like he's grown in dog years the last couple of weeks. Just in terms of he looks different than he did. Just 3 weeks ago. So it's something to keep an eye on. When we get back, we are going to talk about the rookie running back, Ashton Jeanty. Some interesting things from him when we talk to him today. We will get to Ashton Jeanty in just 1 second.
Yeah, I did see that. I had family and friends reaching out about it, but another childhood dream to be in a video game, so it's amazing to see.
Welcome back to Vegas Nation, First and 10. I'm Vinny Bonsignore, joined by Adam Hill. I want to thank you guys for all of your support. Keep hitting that subscribe button. Keep subscribing to Vegas Nation. We're going to have some specials running here pretty soon that make for great gifts, whether it's for yourself or to a friend or to a family member. Keep that in mind. We're going to have some specials, preseason or season specials coming up here pretty soon. We'll have all the details in the coming days. All right, so we heard from Ashton Jeanty today, and kind of a surprise. We talked to him after the game, and they made him available to us today. Just to kind of take a peek behind the curtain just a little bit. We are closing in on that period of the year of training camp where our only access to players is who they decide to make available to us up on the podium, starting. Not next week, but the week after, when they start getting into game preparation week, that's when the locker room opens, and that's when we'll have access to all the players, basically, when we can catch them in the locker room. But Ashton was available to us today. Adam asked a great question about Madden.
Yeah,
and
Madden came out last week, and Ashton Jeanty obviously appears in a video game. He was very excited about that. Said it's a dream come true from growing up in childhood. And for those that haven't seen, he is featured with his college stance, the straight up and down look, which he has not employed at this level because of Chip Kelly, although Chip Kelly passed the buck a little bit and said, it's position coaches. I don't think that's true. Ashton Jeanty is the one that said it was Chip Kelly that didn't want him to do it. So interestingly enough, though, Ashton Jeanty does have his trademark stance in the video game, does not have it yet with the Raiders. We know he has to earn that again at some point. But yeah, lifelong dream for Ashton, he said, to be in there. And that was interesting. Just obviously his big highlight play from the other day, running over Diamador Lenore, and he said, well, if it's a linebacker, maybe you don't do that. You see a corner out there, you're going to try to run him over, and then maybe set him up for something later in the game. But we talked to him after the game, and he was excited about it. But then the reaction on social media and around the the blogosphere was just how much he ran a guy over and. Kind of the welcome to the NFL type of moment, and he just said, "That's just what I do." I mean, it's not really special to me. It's what
We've seen it enough.
I've seen myself do it 1,000 times.
Right, and we being here in Las Vegas and Adam covering UNLV against Boise State, me being a fan and watching from the stands. We saw all of his games against UNLV, whether it was on TV or over at Allegiant Stadium. That is what he does.
I believe it's his third game at Allegiant Stadium, and the first two were highly, highly productive, and obviously not a whole lot of opportunity, 7 carries, but 33 yards the other day.
4.7 yards per carry.
Another successful outing at Allegiant Stadium for Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly, he was playing on the grass on Saturday. His other trips to Allegiant Stadium were on turf because that's what UNLV plays on. All right, so it's the beginning of the last week before the last preseason game. The Raiders travel to Arizona to play the Cardinals on Saturday. You're not going to see any of the starters, basically. Most of the key players are going to be on the sideline. But I think it is worth watching the quarterback, how the quarterbacks play. Some of the young running backs that are in competition for back, of the roster spots on this team, the interior of the defensive line. To me, there's going to be a lot of merit in this game for some of those players that are in a fight for their roster spot. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in the rest of this week. But off the top of your head, who are you most interested? Maybe not who, but what position group are you most interested in looking at on
I think
Saturday?
it's all three levels of the defense. I think certainly, who is playing, who's not. I mean, I think for the most part, you're not going to see starters. Maybe you see cameos. I don't think so. But who are those guys defensively that just don't even play? That are like, hey, you're safe, you're good, you're not playing. And then what are the rotations like, especially defensive line? Even some at the linebacker, we kind of know who the starters are, but how many will they keep? Who will they keep behind them? And then certainly in the secondary, if maybe we don't see Stokes, but do you see all the other guys that are competing on the other side? That's possible.
The Caillou Blue, Kelly's, the
Darian Porter,
DeCameron Richardson. I think all those guys have a chance, to play the young defensive linemen. Definitely the young linebackers. I don't see Jamal Adams being out there necessarily. I know he's kind of a reserve, but I think some of the younger guys. Christopher Smith, guys like that. By the way, Terrell Edmonds comes up with an interception today. Yeah. The newly signed safety that the Raiders have. So
I think he lateraled it. Tried to throw the lateral.
That looked a little weird. By the way, another practice note today. Dante Thornton was dealing with some kind of it really happened right in front of us. He caught a long touchdown pass. So for those of you who have been following the connection between Geno Smith and Dante, now it was on a one-on-one cornerback wide receiver drill, but it was a nicely thrown ball, a nice catch by him. But he came down on the left leg, I think it was, kind of weirdly, and we saw it happen like with feet within us. He kind of grabbed his leg, and that was something that he was dealing with all practice. Something you got to be with a guy like that, an athlete that's built like that relies on his speed, and it was pretty noticeable the rest of practice.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note he's come out of a lot of practices.
He has.
Pulled
to the side.
To his credit, he's almost always come back.
Yeah, In fact, today,
always back out there.
In fact, today, later on in practice, it was another rep against in a wide receiver cornerback situation where he obviously wasn't burning like he normally burns. Yeah. And as he's come and the pass went incomplete, and as he's running back to go with the other wide receivers, Pete pulled him aside and had a little talk with them. And that's when he went back over to the sideline, kind of to run it off a little bit. So maybe Pete was like, look, if you can't play, you can't play. Just go get that taken care of. But then he came back out again after that.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense that's what the discussion was. Obviously, they're on the other side of the field. You can't really see. My first thought was we heard Pete Carroll after the game say that he had some thoughts on Thornton on the deep ball.
Yeah.
And then we heard him say Sunday.
He didn't have thoughts on Thornton. He had thoughts
between Geno and Thornton.
Yes,
right, between Geno and Thornton and how they haven't been able to
But I think you were onto something there.
And that he had some thoughts about it. And then Sunday on the follow-up, he said, I know you guys are curious about it, but I'm not going to really share that with you.
Sorry,
and then
Charlie.
After a deep ball attempt today, that's when Pete Carroll grabbed him. So could have been talking about, hey, maybe we're just not going full speed. Could have also been whatever those thoughts were about the connection between Geno and Thornton on the deep ball. Could have been kind of sharing those on the practice field.
Yep, for sure. So anyway, something to keep an eye on. As Adam said, Dante's had to leave a couple of times during practice, and a lot of times it seems to be with the legs, and he's stretching it out and everything like that.
Usually comes right back.
Yep, absolutely. Anyway, we're going to get into Saturday's game in the tomorrow and then on Thursday as well before they wrap it up. and then head off to Arizona. I want to say thank you again to all of our subscribers, all of our listeners, all of our readers. You're truly why we do this. I want to say thanks to the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. I want to say thank you to Heidi Feng for everything that she does. Until tomorrow, take care, and we will talk to you tomorrow.